Good morning, guys. Mark here again, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, you love cars and DIYs, please consider subscribing and check out my playlist. So for today, I'm gonna show you guys and teach you on how to maintain and clean your PCV valve, or basically your positive crankcase ventilation. So before we begin, we will be using very basic tools, an adjustable wrench, pliers, and cleaner of your choice. So today I'll be using a brake cleaner, but you can use throttle body cleaner. Basically, that is good in dissolving carbon deposits and basically sludge. I'm gonna show you guys on how to remove it, replace it if needed. I'm gonna tell you what are the signs and symptoms that you have a bad PCV valve. Alright guys, so before we even start, we need to understand first what is a PCV valve, what does it do. It's really technical if you want to know the in-depth function of it, but to make it simple, the PCV valves basically prevents blow-by gases that is being produced during combustion to basically recirculate on your cylinder block and cylinder head. And what it does is using a vacuum spring operated mechanism, it basically sucks out those um, blow-by gases and reintroduce it on the intake manifold to be able to be used in another combustion cycle. So what are the signs that you have a faulty PCV valve? One would be increased pressure on your engine, that will affect the oil seals. And two, of course, oil starts leaking on your oil seals, head cover gasket, etc. Next would be your engine will run lean, meaning that there's too much air basically being introduced on the combustion or your intake towards your combustion chamber. And number four would be your engine will run a bit hotter than usual because it's running lean. Okay, so if you guys don't know, gasoline is part of the cooling system of your engine. It cools down the engine. Okay. Alright guys, so the very first thing that you need to do is, aside from you preparing your tools, is basically removing the air filter box assembly. You need to remove three of the bolts right here, and then two of the bolts that is holding your throttle cable, and a single bolt that connects your airbox to your throttle body. Okay, so I already removed the bolts and loosen up the bolt that is holding the intake hose that connects our airbox assembly. I'm just gonna remove this by hand.
A few moments later.
And there you go. So it's loose, and just get the airbox assembly out of the way. Yeah. Alright, so here is your head cover, and this is your vacuum hose, this one, and this is your PCV valve. Okay, so now we're gonna remove the hose that is connected to our PCV valve using our pliers. So this one, let's give it a little and right there. After loosening up the clamp, remove the vacuum hose, which is this. Give it a little twist and swivel to loosen it up. Okay. I think that's loose. And alright, so we're just loosening up the PCV valve. Let's see. Okay, so we can remove it by hand. And this is what your PCV looks like. So you can see it's a bit dirty. Of course, even though you remove the PCV valve, please check the vacuum hose for any debris. Okay. So this one looks clean, though you can see that oil is coming out. That's normal. Okay. Just make sure that there's no like sludge coming out. Alright, so now we're gonna clean our PCV valve. So in my case, I'm gonna use a brake cleaner, but you guys can use a throttle body cleaner. Okay. So you should hear the spring. As I mentioned earlier, now you see the plate. Alright, so now we will let this air dry for about 5 to 10 minutes, or depending on the cleaner that you will be using. You see that white stuff? Those are actually debris that has frozen up. Just wipe it dry, or wipe it clean. Okay, so we'll just let it sit here, let it dry out. Alright, so we will be cleaning the vacuum hose as well. So you just need to remove the other end. Alright, so that's out. Alright, so time to clean the vacuum hose. Alright, so this is really straightforward, guys. Again, using your either throttle body or brake cleaner, just spray it inside. I'm not sure if you guys saw. And since the hose is removed, this is actually the perfect time for you to inspect for any damages, leaks um, on the hose itself. Alright guys, so time to put it back together. First would be the vacuum hose that we removed earlier. So this is the first thing that we need to return. Alright, so when returning your PCV valve, tighten it by hand, as I always mention, until you can't turn it by hand anymore, to avoid basically damaging the threads of your any of the bolts, nuts in your car. Alright, so I think just a bit turn using the wrench. Okay, that's about it. And then don't forget to return the vacuum hose and the clamp. Alright, so I'm gonna return the airbox and we're gonna test it. So we just finished returning everything back to its original position. Before cranking up the engine, it would be a good practice to double or even triple check everything that was removed, the airbox. So make sure that all the bolts are secured, the hoses, the vacuum hose, the clamps, and of course the um, PCV valve that we removed. Okay, so everything seems to be secured. Now it's time to crank up the engine. Now time to crank up the engine. This is a very cold start. Haven't started the engine since yesterday around lunchtime. And you will see it's very cold. All right, so let's give it a go. One click. Alright guys, so that's how you clean your PCV valve. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and check out the playlist that I have. Thank you so much for joining me today guys. Until our next video.